agent in my 36th year. So what I tell people is they don't hire 9-year-olds anymore. The day I was hired by State Farm, I was also handed a NAFA contract, and I asked why, and the person that hired me said, well, until you can afford your own lobbyist, you're going to need NAFA. So I can't afford my own lobbyist, but that's what NAFA would do for me and still does, whether it's in Texas as a lobbyist or at the national level as a lobbyist. And advocacy is so important. And so I paid my dues for that, but it also provided networking and other things. And then a dear friend here in Austin, Texas, asked me to join the local board, and she was going through Lily, and she's not typically an emotional person, but she suggested I take a look at this. And so I took a look at Lily, and I don't know how much you want me to go through the history of Lily, but what Lily was developed to bring in leadership for NAFA. And while I believe it has done that, it also, the purpose is to not only bring in leadership for NAFA, what it does is it enhances your personal life. And if your personal life is enhanced, then your professional life will be enhanced, because it all starts at home, doesn't it? So if things are going well at home, then that goes everywhere in your life. And so we promise, if that you'll take a look at Lily, then you spend this time with the curriculum and the people that you're going through this with, that your personal life will be enhanced just by the curriculum, and you'll get just as more out of it by what you put into it. So people say, well, sure, I'll take a look at it, I'll do it. And then they don't do the material. And they're like, yeah, that was okay, that was fun. But I can tell who does the curriculum, who does the work and puts into it, and who doesn't. And it's always obvious. So you'll get just out of it what you put into it. And so we like to joke around, at least in Texas, we tell people it's a cult. Well, it's not. It's not a secret handshake or anything like that, but we like to joke and have inside stories. But the way the material dovetails itself, so you have books, you have extra reading material, you have movies, and all the material is intended to bridge or dovetail on top of each other. And I think that's the magic to it. Does that make sense? Am I talking too fast? Because I tend to talk really fast. So for me, Lily, in an attempt to give me leadership training, it really is kind of a life enhancement tool that if I feel stressed, if I feel down, it provides tools that helps you through issues with your kids, issues with a relationship, issues with your employees or coworkers. After I took Lily, I became Lily Chair for Texas, and then I became Lily Chair at the National Lily Subcommittee, the national level for NAFA. And then I became a mentor to other states to mentor moderators as they would go to moderate the course. And the point to that story is that I read the same books 5 times, because if I was going to ask my moderators to read it, I had to be fresh with the material again. I will tell you, every time I read the book, how many of you have read any book 5 times? Every time I read it, I got something new out of it. I don't remember Stephen Covey saying this. I don't remember Covey's perspective on that. And it was just fascinating, and how, again, it was fresh to me, and it would dovetail the material in a different way in my mind, maybe on what I was going through at the time, but it was always rewarding. So Lily is a gift and a program depending on where you are in your world, in your life, in your relationships. And the Stephen Covey and the material of the other books, there's always this debate on who has a favorite, and you can't help but have favorites. So whether it's a movie and how you take a look at it depends on where you are. Does that make sense, Suzanne? Is that kind of what you had in mind?
Absolutely. So can you actually talk, just give the whole group, since I think some people are very new to it, like what's the structure of Lilly? You know, like how does it work for a state? How do you get into it? Kind of the brass tacks of it.
There are always exceptions because I view Lilly as an ongoing experiment. So there is nothing set in stone, but the intent is that you have a minimum of 7 students. We certainly make exceptions. The most you want to have is 14. That would be a very large class because the intent is on bonding and exchange of the information. The state, it's a state-sponsored class, and in Texas, we meet in Austin. California used to meet at different locations. If you can envision the state of California, it's large. And so they would fly to, like, say maybe one class was in the north of California, the second class would meet in South California, the third class might be in Central California. I think that would become very expensive. I think it's more efficient if you meet in one location. What?
That's why they stopped doing it that way. They don't do it that way anymore.
Right. Yeah. The most expensive class in the entire federation was in California. So come to Texas. But it's more efficient if you have it in one location. I can put on a better program. We bring in guest speakers each class, I hope, but we provide breaks, but we also bring in lunch and provide lunch. But it's an 8-hour day, one day for 6 months. So it's 6 months, the intent is 6 months, if you do it right. One day a month for 6 months. And again, in-person class. I know that there's been some discussion about doing it otherwise, but the curriculum is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, The Good to Great, Jim Collins, Credibility, and the debate goes on. That's really rather dry. And I'm going to go blank on the authors of Credibility. Credibility is by Posner and Blake, but I could Google it really quick.
Voice, I think, but KOU.
That was my least favorite. So I.
And a lot of people like it, but it brings up so many good points on what makes a leader and what other people's views of a leader are. What are the characteristics and traits that other people look for in a leader? And again, I go to the dovetail and bridging over what Covey is saying in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Good to Great is this study after study of Jim Collins and his team on these amazing, great businesses. And then you look up and you're in your 21st century and saying, hey, some of those failed. Why are we still studying them? Well, it still holds true in the year 2020 on what made them great, why some failed, what a level 5 leader is. And again, we go back to dovetailing the material. The other things that you will do is the one-page business plan. This is an amazing tool to calculate what you need to be successful in your goals, in your objectives, and then you come out with one page that you can literally pull up quarter to quarter, month to month, however you want to set it up. But it's a brilliant one-page business plan that you should revisit, redo, update, and it's an easy tool to do that you'll spend time doing as well. There is, I don't want to call it a personality assessment. It is, we used to do that, and it's, there's a lot of reasons and stories and history behind it, but we do the Kolb learning a style assessment. So this is how you learn, and it's different for everyone. Not everybody learns the same way. So if you've ever had to learn a second language or 3 languages, if you ever learned how to play golf, think about, learn how to ride a bicycle, learn how to swim. Think how you did that. How did it work for you? What did you have to overcome? This is a learning style assessment, and it's fascinating on what your style is. So there's, like I said, there's no right or wrong. It's just an assessment, and it's amazing what it will teach you. And then maybe you do it with your partner. Maybe you do it with your kids, and it's really eye-opening. So we go through that as well. What other tools do we have in there? So this is, again, the process, and then with each class, we introduce a movie, and I probably won't share all those with you because it is part of the curriculum that dovetails and goes with each. We try to connect the movie to the message of each session. So say session 1 has 8 segments. We cover NAIFA material, but what I will also promise you that it's not NAIFA 101, I promise, but it is built around a curriculum to enhance the NAIFA message, but more importantly, your personal life as some tools, and then perhaps one. At the end of the day, you are asked to give 2 years into NAIFA leadership at some role or another at the state level or any level you like, but it's still America. We're not going to make you. Does that help?
And the class is, correct me if I'm wrong, right? I mean, the class is self-funded, right? Like very rarely, it's usually a member saying, I'm going to plunk down an extra, let's just call it $1,000 plus travel and time to take this time to invest in myself, right?
You're right. I think you have to have some skin in the game, and sometimes the state or the affiliate will help you with the tuition. Half of the tuition goes to national for their admin side and the books and the, again, the one-page business plan. All of that comes to us from national, and then the other portion is the state or whoever's putting it on. But correct, the student has some skin in the game, so some students pay it all, but we have to send about half of that. $525, I believe, goes to national, and so the other part, every state is different on the amount, and so you have a moderator or 2, and then like I said, we usually have a guest speaker each session. Each state may or may not bring in a guest speaker for like the lunchtime portion, and then the state will sometimes absorb it. Again, that's different, but usually it is the student.
So, oh, go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead. I was just, I know some states, you know, or local chapters or affiliates, after they complete it, they will give them like, you know, an extra, you know, $100, $200, depending on the state. But it's that, you know, they have to complete it. Second question, Karen, do you guys still do 21 laws or no?
Oh yes, thank you. John Maxwell, thank you. Thank you. John Maxwell's 21 irrefutable laws of success. John Maxwell's another great author, and that book as well, that's the first read you have to get out of the way, correct. At the end of the 6 sessions, we have a commencement exercise where everyone is recognized and they do a quick speech to all invited. And in Texas, we invite all the past Lilly grads and the board and everybody to say what Lilly meant to them. And the best way to do this is in Lilly, we introduced, and it's not a foreign concept, but journaling. We ask everybody to journal throughout their experience. And I get a lot of pushback on this. And I never understood why. It isn't Dear Diary. I don't want it understood as Dear Diary, today I ate too much pizza. It's not it. It's you think you'll remember and you won't. This is about creating memories. This is about making memories. And I just don't want you to think that your moderators are going to try and look over your shoulder and see what you're writing, all your deep secrets. That's not it at all. It's you. I just can't emphasize enough how you think you're going to remember. Remember what I said in session 1. I really remember session 3. It's not it. If you're going to get to the end of 6 sessions with all these people, whether you care for them or not, these are people you would have met or not, you're going to give a quick story of what it meant to you. Start your journaling experience and then look back on that for your memories. What Lilly has become to get known for, and it's no secret if you talk to anybody that's gone through it, and Stephen Covey talks about it in Habit 3, Begin with the End in Mind. And I can tell you all 7 habits from the book. It's effective people, not successful people. Habit 3 is Begin with the End in Mind. Stephen Covey suggests that you write your own eulogy. If you want to live a great life, when your life comes to the end, what will people say about you? What do they say kind of person you were? Were you a great person? Were you a kind person? Were you selfish and always in a hurry? Stephen Covey says, write your own eulogy and or ask someone, what would they say about you? So in our third session, we get to this point of his book and you deliver your eulogy to your class. So sometimes it's tearful. It's hard for very young people to do it because they can't imagine the end of their life. I'm not a big fan of, somebody that's in their 20s saying, well, when I'm 80 and I've had this white picket fence and this perfect marriage, and I'm not a big fan of that, but maybe at least project 3 years out or something. What do you want that to look like? So that's a big event for Lily, and a lot of people talk about that at their commencement exercise. So it's a big deal.
So one thing I wanted to explore with you, well, I have a couple things written down, but kind of going back to, and then we'll go back over to the eulogy, because I think that's a good emotional engagement part. But go back to the one-page business plan for a second, and let's unpack, let's put that in context to you having, and if you can talk, about your State Farm agency, right? And like talk about what does your company look like? Who's responsible for the revenue, right? Like how do you do it? Because you've successfully done this for a while, and we know the washout for this industry is like 85%, if not higher, right? So can you talk about that with the one-page business plan and like what it takes to make it?
I think that it takes tenacity and endurance to make it in any business. But for me, when I was hired, you have to put together a business plan, and they give you templates. The company or any company will give you templates to complete for a business plan. So you could go to Lily and you could get a template because you're gonna have to do a business plan. Or you could go to the internet and look for templates for a business plan. And then you're gonna have how many different business plans. With Lily, we give, and you can buy the one-page business plan on the NAFA website for a discount. And you can also find it in a bookstore based on your career. So you can buy it for financial planners, you can buy it for CPAs, you can find it for different categories of careers. For myself, I am a sole proprietor by IRS definition, but I have a contract to sell only State Farm. My bread and butter is car insurance. I also sell a lot of homeowners, and they dovetail, there's that word again, over each other. And I have employees that sell for me. I license them the same way that I am licensed. Ideally, I like to have 2 or 3 employees. There are State Farm agents that have a great many more than that. I could not do it alone and have any freedom or sense of life on the weekends. So there's myself and then 2 or 3 other employees. We sometimes work weekends, we sometimes work evenings, but our policy holders, our target market, are the homes in our neighborhoods, the homes around Austin. I'm licensed anywhere in the state of Texas. But if you envision cars and homes, and we do their property and casualty business and a lot of life insurance. And so when I set up my business plan when I was hired 30-some years ago, and now remember, I was like 9 or 10 years old, and please, Suzanne, I hope they know I'm being facetious, just kidding. I set that up to what the company wanted me to say. The people that are hiring me to be an independent contractor, to be a sole proprietor, I say what I think they want me to say. Yes, I'll work very hard. Yes, I'll go after the better than average consumer to write their insurance policies, have a certain amount of retention, have a certain amount of minimum premium, because I get a commission. I'm 100% commission, and I'm going to do these things to market the neighborhood. I'm going to do these things for my policyholders, and I promise to return emails. This was before email, y'all. I promise to, not steal money, et cetera, and have ethics. But then the company wants me to do marketing a certain way and answer phone calls and take claims. Storms are going to roll through. I have to process claims in a certain manner, et cetera, et cetera. But when I get the one-page business plan, not only does it ask me to write a mission statement, a vision statement. I'm going to go through guiding principles. Can you say ethics 101? It's amazing. And then it gives me objectives. It gives me a thoughtful pattern and process to come to this in a natural way that's much more effective, but it's also easy for me to pull it out and review it, like I said, monthly or quarterly or annually. And it's a methodical, easy way that wasn't somebody else's BS or template or manipulated way to say, here's what you want me to say. Okay, I said it. The one-page business plan with its objectives and guidelines, because we started with my own mission statement, my own vision statement. And to me, that's where we want to be. My guiding principles where I'm going to be from my heart and soul. Does that help? I wish I'd brought it to show you.
No,
And I
absolutely.
apologize.
Well, and so where I'm trying to get you to go is also talk about, you know, one of the things we talk about now that we have to really market to our members is the fact that we talk a lot about time management and that self-discipline and the fact that you're not on salary, right? So if you don't hustle, you know, and if you're not guiding yourself, if you're not have that self-discipline that you know, for yourself and a way to kind of, you know, rejuvenate it. And that's why you hear that sharpen your saw and keep going, then, you know, you're not going to make it in the industry. Right. And I think that's an interest, like when we have to market to that type of self-actualized, self-reliant, you know, grit and determination person, it's a high bar, right? It's a high bar because for most of our members, they are self-made. You know, we do have some members who have inherited their business, et cetera, but for the large part of our members, they're self-made, right? And so that's where I was kind of going with that how does Lily fit into that? To like, did you see more success once you went through Lily? You know, it's helping you to guide and run your own business. So already we've separated out from kind of the typical population because you kind of have people that are employees, right? And on salary. And then you've got these entrepreneurial people that, again, you guys we're all in salary here, you know, you're out there and you're hunting what, you know, you're eating what you hunt, right? So it's like, if you're not doing that, and that's one of the big, at least what I've heard, one of the biggest reasons that people fail at this business is because you have to be so self-disciplined and so good at time management, and you got to have that self-accountability, right? And so how has Lily helped you with all of those pieces? Or do you see that for other people who've gone through Lily? Like, did they get far more determined about their business and kind of carve out their niche? You know, like, I'm going to work with whatever dental offices, you know, and do insurance for, like, they find where they fit, and it's just not all over the place. I think you alluded to it, talking about your heart, but can you talk more about that one?
There's actually a segment, or more than one segment within Lily on time management. Covey touches on it, and there is segments and discussion around time management and what suits you and helps you through that. So it's a great point. I mean, you wouldn't go back to your doctor or your dentist or your attorney if they didn't have continuing education. And so most states require that we have continuing education. So anytime that you do that, whether it's Lilly or LUTC or any kind of ongoing learning style, whatever it is that you want to learn and further yourself in, that promotes you and enhances you as an insurance agent. So if it's Lilly that fires me up, or LUTCF, my sales always went up anytime that I took some kind of class like that. You always get new ideas. If I can learn one thing or be charged, then it's beneficial. So that's the way I looked at it. If it's dry and it doesn't interest me, then I'll drop it too soon. But Lily was so inspiring because I think of the material, but there is content in there specifically on time management as well. So there was something else you said I was going to touch on.
Oh, probably like, you know, knowing, kind of identifying for yourself where your heart and passion is in growing that business.
I have, time and time again, I have seen people go through Lily that absolutely took a turn in their career, For me, it enhanced my participation actually in NAFA because Lily became a passion for me. But I have seen people take Lily and say, this isn't for me, I'm going another direction. Where working only for State Farm, I'm considered a captive agent. So other captive agents went, nope, I'm done. And they would go become an independent and just change the trajectory in the way they approached their insurance career. Maybe they were salaried and said, I can take this, I'm going to be all commission. Or they were all commission and said, I prefer to go to salary. I want to know what I'm taking home. Absolutely changed the direction they went. Maybe they were in a partnership with someone else in their business and they said, I need to be solo. They're solo and now I want to be in a team. They got through Lily and they said, I am changing the way I'm going to take this career, way I'm earning money. And Lily gave them the strength, the stamina, and a direction for them to go. And it was strictly from that energy and the curriculum and whatever it pulled for them. And like I said, for everybody, it's different, but it was just amazing. And for me, it was a little bit of a delayed reaction. I took it, I thought it was great, and I enjoyed it. But I liked the people connection and the reactions for it. But some people, it was just more immediate. If that makes sense.
mean, and I'll kind of tell my little personal story. I mean, obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. Will never be a financial advisor. So my perspective from Lily was a little bit different in that. But I had a guy in my class who went from working at an agency, a Farm Bureau agency, to buying somebody else's. He had the opportunity to buy somebody else's book of business, and that was a lot of his personal journey that he went through. And Lily just kind of helps that decision making process and really taking that self-reflection look and say, okay, where do I want to be and how am I going to get there and what makes me happy? And it was really interesting to be on that journey with him, to see, to support him and, talk through it with him and just, the pros and the cons and everything like that. And for me personally, I was actually in like a pretty toxic relationship, and Lily gave me the strength to get out of that toxic relationship. So
Wow.
I mean, nothing to do with my career or anything like that, but it was it was an insane relationship, and it was stupid, and the power to say, like, I deserve better than this. So and like I said, nothing to do with my career or anything like that, but like kind of what Karen said, that it is more than just a career program, that it's a whole person development.
And so what we also found was that there, as I mentioned, there are 6 sessions. It's once a month for 8 hours for 6 months. And then you kind of come out of that and you do your commencement ceremony version, happy hour, whatever you want it to be. And you kind of look around and you watch everybody else, and the rest of the world didn't change, but maybe you did because of this, and you put a lot into it. And you start looking at each other and it's like, well, what are we going to do now? We had 6 sessions. What do we do now? And so we started developing an alumni group. And that was the fastest growing part within NAFA, was the alumni section of Lily. So we meet once a year in Texas. NAFA National had us meet once a year at the national conference. And we started calling it Lily 7. And that's been fun. And it gives another creative outlet where it's not in the official curriculum. It gives us liberty to put it in the alumni curriculum. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that, again, all those things you just hit on, talk about that emotional engagement point. And so then if you're now, I think that for many of our members, they come to NAFA meetings because it helps them to get energized and feel like it's just a refresher to get more serious about their business, right? And come in and get excited with other people who are talking the same thing, living the same life, those challenges. Lily 7's like an additional one, because I think you've just been kind of granted this extra vision of leadership, if you will, you know, and if you, what's exciting about seeing Lily 7 happen is my own little experiences last year. It was like Lily 7 are our most engaged members, right? If you want somebody to sell membership, you put the spotlight on Lily 7, because these people are not going to sit there each month and go, you know, is this worth my money for my dues? Like, it's just a no-brainer. Like, this is what they do. It's just, they're part of NAFA, they're Lily, they're leaders, and this is just part of their career, right? So at the last Performance Plus Purpose, it's like Lily 7 is always, it's one of Karen and I bonded over the fact that Lily 7 was not getting the press that I thought we should give, the publicity and everything else. So we just started doing little things. We gave them sparkly blue lanyards. I mean, this was not a big ask. Those people were like, they were like crying, and it's like the energy when Lily people get together, lots of hugs, lots of kisses, right? It's the energy. It's that positive energy. It's exactly the same as getting a bunch of athletes together who can really play, right? If you get a bunch of guys together or women together or co-ed, whatever, and they're all going to play soccer and everybody can actually really play, it's a lot of fun, right? And then if you really play and you love the game, then you look at somebody who's new to it and you're like, come on and play with us. That'll even be more fun, right? And so there's this athletic, competitive, exciting leadership energy thing that I think happens with Lily, but it's very much, it's a little bit secretive, but they have a very pay it forward attitude, right? So a super inclusive group, because what's interesting about our membership, and this is what we talk about all the time, Karen, and then you can comment on it, is the people that end up becoming not just quick members, but lifetime, you know, good members, like 10 years more. They are themselves competitive. They are themselves self-driven, right? Having said that, they are the most giving to other members. They don't have that competitive thing between each member. It's really about being, and they're the most inclusive piece, which is interesting. That's why I liken it to kind of a bunch of athletes, right? So each individual person is trying to be the absolute best person they can be. Like, that's what you find in Lily. Like, they're trying to hit it on all cylinders, right? It's like personally, professionally, spiritually, name something, right? Whatever it is, they're trying to be performance minded, and they look to things that are all about self-improvement, and they get really excited about it, right? Like, they're excited. Like if Jim Collins came out with the next Good to Great, they're all like, woo, you know, next edition, like, whoa, it's exciting. Cause they like, they love self-improvement. Would that be a fair statement? So they love that stuff. It's like they can't get enough. They're like, well, wait a minute, did you get a juice that's going to help you have more energy, right? And like, they share, and that's where you get that conversation going. And they love talking about performance, and they want to be the best, and they want the people around them to be the best, right? I think is a good way to say it.
It's a great way to say it. You nailed it. You hit the nail on the head. And one of the reasons that Zach said, you know, how we ran out, Zach and Emily both said we ran out of the things that you were so brilliant in getting for us in the marketing, that we were recognized, okay, the Lily grads have these kind of name tags or these wine charms. It was great marketing that we hadn't done before, but it looks so good because these are individuals that can speak the same language. These are individuals that we know we cried together, we laughed together over the same curriculum and material. So we know everybody's done a eulogy. We know everybody knows the Good to Great principles. They'll know what a cogwheel is. They'll know what Stockholm Syndrome is. They will know just key phrases of the curriculum, and they know that they've all suffered through the business plan or suffered through, you know, some of the homework. I went back through my journal the first time I moderated a class in Texas, and I wanted to feel their pain or pleasure. You know, my journal from 2007 and 8 was full of complaints on Lily's taking up all my time. I wasn't going to be one of those slackers. I was going to do all the homework. And it was wah, wah, wah. Lily takes up all my time. All I do is Lily. So much reading. You know, really, come on. It's 4 books. And it's spaced out over 6 months. Who can't do that? But I was complaining and this and that. And I had to travel to Dallas We hold the classes in Austin now, but at the time, my class was in Dallas. So I had to travel to and from Dallas to take my class. Wah, wah, wah. Oh my gosh, it was so complaining and this and that. Hilarious looking back. But it also got me in the habit of journaling. I still journal every day, usually in the mornings now, but that's a whole nother conversation rather than at night. It's a conversation that my youngest nephew got me started in, just to remember things about him, which again, I thought I'd remember. It's about making memories and remembering them. But nonetheless, my very first national conference was in Baltimore, and I can't remember when it was. I don't know, I've been to more than 10, so it's a long time ago. People on our name badges, there are ribbons for committees or offices you've held. At the time, Lily was a green ribbon. And the people I was hanging out with for breaks or meetings or whatever, they would have the green Lily ribbon. And they would walk up to each other and say, "You're a Lily grad. Oh, you're a Lily grad. You're a Lily grad." And it was like, I want a green ribbon. I want to do one of those. And the friend that had talked me into it, she had a green Lily ribbon. So it was like, okay, next time I'm going to have one. And I did. But that's kind of how it grew in my mind. I knew of it. And then it came down to a green ribbon, just that those people had taken it. So it's a bonding experience beyond not having a secret handshake, not a fraternity, but these are people that know the same language. If I go to a meeting and we're all Lily grads and I say begin with the end in mind, they know what we're talking about. If I say seek first to understand and then be understood, they know habit 5. They know what I'm talking about. It's a goosebumps experience, and they know that we've been through the same homework, and maybe, you have a bad moderator, you have some crummy people in your class. I'm sorry, that's your Lily experience. That's just your Lily experience. We'll make it up when we get around Suzanne and get more good marketing material.
Well, and I was just going to say, so I mean, so that's why, let's just say us as a team, as a MarComm team, we have to decide who should we showcase in a tweet, or who should we profile on LinkedIn or write an article about. And if you had to choose between a member and a Lily grad, you're going to pick Lily grad, right? Not only because it's non-dues rev, not only from the financial side for us, but because if you put more recognition and you give more praise to those Lily grads, they themselves are like little energy spotlights to bring in more people, because those people know each other instantly. And so you have that same experience. The other lady had the green ribbon. Karen doesn't have the green ribbon, and that's going to sit there and fester in her mind. And she's going to say, I'm going to go get me that damn green ribbon and do a better job, right? And do more, that type of thing. That's how our membership works. And so much of the things when we talk about, can we send an email and people will sign up for LACP? And I say all the time, we're not going to sell LACP through email. Why? Because we're a word of mouth referral business, right? And it's about recognizing and having somebody make the ask. Now, if somebody asks Karen, do you want to do the life and annuity certified professional or whatever? And it made sense to her and she was in that business and somebody asked her, she would say, yes, I'll do it, right? I'll take the test. And so we're very much based on that networking. So our job is in marketing is always trying to identify kind of the right people and then identify their network and work that through, just like we would build a referral business. So I wanted to hit on one other thing, Karen, while we still got you. And if it's okay, can I mention one of the movies that it's in Lily? Because I think especially it's very timely right now.
Sure.
So one of the movies they go through is Invictus. Has anybody watched Invictus? It's the story, right, of the Springboks. And has anybody seen this one? Okay, we're gonna make it homework for our group. All right, so anyway. Story about it is Nelson Mandela, right, after kind of the apartheid, he goes to the Springboks rugby club and says, basically, he tells them, I want you to win the World Cup and put South Africa on the map and create South Africa as a new nation. Everybody has one flag, because, it was very broken up and people didn't see it that way. And so he's talking to Matt Damon, the captain, and he's starting to realize this crazy man, who's this leader of a brand new country with a huge divides, is asking us to do some unthinkable task, right? And so, you know, you watch the story, you find out what happens. But the point being is that I think that also one of the things that Lily does is and I saw it so many times on the board call today in the chat, it's think big, right? Think big and like get this big goal and figure out how you can have the leadership to make it happen. So I say that because our team is being asked to do a big thing. We have just done what? Reunited a new nation that was very divided and was, you know, different. And now we're this new structure of NAFA. And now we're trying to do this big task of grow it and bring in a whole different generation, right? And it's this big ask that we're having. So I think what Karen is saying is that places like Lily allows you to be that touch point, to get that strength, to not get bogged down. Because it's really easy when you've got an overwhelming ask to just give up, right? You get worn down, you're like, it's too big, it's overwhelming, I can't do it, etc. So I'm gonna go back then, Karen, and you weave it all back together with Lily and your business and the whole thing. When you first got that State Farm contract, it was like, hey, Karen, good luck. You got to build your own business, right? And you're thinking like, how am I going to do this? Like, were you overwhelmed? You know, were you figuring out how to do that? And then how does Lily help people who are overwhelmed with these big goals, how to like help them to get there so that they don't shut down?
Boy, that's a great question. And I'll make sure I answer that and not ramble. A little bit, it's tempting to tie into the movie that you mentioned, because what Nelson Mandela does is incredible. And he's as incredible as a human. We could use that kind of strength now. We chose that movie. There's so many great ones. We chose that movie because the message at that point in Lily, between session 1 and 2, is to be proactive and first things first. So if you approach your business or your life, and if you have the foresight, and not everybody is visionary, but if you can anticipate others' needs and your own needs, if you can do that and be proactive. And I think that I had a great mentor, Suzanne, to answer the question about my business. I had an amazing mentor, an absolutely amazing coach-like mentor that just listened to me a lot and gave great guidance. Looking back, I was just really blessed. I didn't inherit any files. I didn't inherit anything but great guidance and somebody that would hold my hand when I was probably quite needy. And then the second thing is first things first. You put one foot in front of another when you start to feel overwhelmed. It's first things first. What do you need to do first before you get it? Don't get ahead of yourself. And that we chose this movie because it shows someone that's not only a great listener, we also incorporated emotional intelligence into Lily. We put that in 2013, you've heard of EQ. Your IQ doesn't change beyond the age of 16, but EQ, emotional intelligence, can change, and we incorporated that. And that's something else you see in Nelson Mandela and not too many other leaders. And it's something I struggle to work on and have to all the time, but some people just inherently have it. And so we put that movie in the same year that we put in EQ. And so if you think of those two things, I think that if you don't have a mentor, find one. And we also discuss segments of mentorship. In addition to leadership, we discuss and segments of mentorship in Lily, but a little bit later in the curriculum. And so I think those things helped me, especially in the early days, and then just plain tenacity. Did I answer it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things I know that someone is working on, I believe Corey, I believe it comes under Corey, but that idea that not only do we need to revitalize kind of our leadership training, but also that mentoring kind of program, right, within NAFA and bridge again generations, you know, across, and that pay it forward. So I'm sure you're going to get tapped for that too.
Gladly. Anything to pay it back.
Yeah, it's, I mean, and look at that. Say, I mean, how much marketing gold do we just get out of Karen? You see why she's just marketing, she's marketing NAFA gold. In the last couple of minutes, anybody have any other questions or comments to Karen? You want to ask?
Thank you for what you do, Karen.
I'm having a good time. I'm having a really good time. I enjoy it, especially y'all.
Oh, you know what? I was going to ask you one more thing. We were talking about public recognition, and I was just going to note, I've had the pleasure of being to Karen's office, and it's one of those things that, yes, she's on State Farm, and, you know, you see State Farm on big commercials and basketball games, you know, and State Farm's everywhere, huge marketing budgets. But one of the things we were talking about before about why sometimes our members are very particular and why the bar is high for aesthetics and for the way we do things and calendaring and preparing is because at the end of the day, Karen, whose name is on your door of your office? Whose name is there?
Her name.
On my door?
Yeah, your door. Whose name is
My-
there?
My
Your
name.
name. That's
My
right.
name.
So it's your business and it's your name. So the product that you put out, you have a structure from State Farm, but pretty
Mhm.
much everything beyond that is Karen Easterling, right? And
That's
if you
right.
think about that, our members, that's why it's so important when they, like, that's why we have, like, just to tie it in, like Sunshine, if you call and you're like, hey, can you get on this call? And that's why the extra reach out, because their name is their brand, right? And it's that reputation that's so important. So I think I just wanted to say that because that's a different structure, right? Again, you're not an employee. Yes, you're
Right.
supported by State Farm. It's hard to kind of get the mind around that, but it's your
Yeah.
business, right? So if
Right.
you've got a cranky client or you miss the deal or whatever, you're the one suffering.
That's right.
So it has to be just so, right? And so each of our members are their own, if we start thinking them, each one of our members, for the absolute most part, are their own small business owners, right? And so understanding that they're living their life as the small business owner and then hiring other people to help them with that. And so that pride, they are Main Street USA, that's pride of being a small business owner and understanding that Karen Easterling, like State Farm says, okay, here's your stuff you use, but then it goes into, it's Karen Easterling's way, right? It's Karen Easterling's company, it's Karen Easterling's process, it's Karen Easterling's clients, and then everybody else is in part of that. So I think that's an important to understand where that pride comes from, and then why you're getting a bunch of business owners together at a NAFA meeting, let's say, and then they're having all other conversations about, so we talked about the Talent Development Center, you want to recruit other people like that, then you're talking about the Business Performance Center, like, okay, look where Karen is now. As a small business owner, she's well established. She's got the basics down pat. Now she's asking other things like, I don't know, do I want to expand into different states, right? Do I want to sell my business? What do I want to do for succession planning? And so that NAFA membership and what we do, we're actually, if we can bring in members early enough in their career, we're staying with them their entire life of their business, right? So that's exciting. And so we're saying, can NAFA stay with you from the very time you say, I should be in insurance and get my license, all the way to the point where you're ready to sell your business, right? And so that's how we want to hook people. And that's why it makes it, you know, emotionally engaging that NAFA is always giving back during that time. Is that a good wrap up, Karen? Is that fair?
It's very fair. It's very good. Yes, exactly.
And so that's a big, you know, that's a big ask for us guys as a MarComm team. Now we're talking about, you know, as Karen said, anticipating the needs, being emotionally engaging from perhaps like, you know, when Karen became an agent at 9 years old, all the way through when she says, I'm out of the business, you know, and then how do we reward that and recognize that commitment? So Karen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. This is fun. Y'all are awesome. And it
So-
should be
Thank
fun.
you. Thank
Well,
you.
we'll keep tapping you. Don't worry.
Yeah, do. And if you
Don't go far, lady.
I won't. And if you think of questions that I failed to address, or I can share some Lily tidbits or the brochures with you, our promos, you know, be glad to.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your night.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care.
See you, Suzanne.
Good to see you, Karen.